Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in back to the channel. It just got real. So today's topic is gonna be about what happens when you don't get paid at work, right? So a lot of people, we make a lot of money. If you work in Northern California, hourly rate is high, and does you no good if you don't get paid, right? So I'm gonna tell you something. Just my experience of what's going on. And I thought I'd share it to you because there's a lot of people that stay quiet and don't know what to do uh, when their work don't pay them, you know. And a lot of people in Northern California, nurses, I should say, are in the union. So I was in the union at the hospital that I worked at, and every, they didn't get a chance to help me. But at another hospital I was at, I went to the union and they didn't really help me at all. Like, they got all the stuff together, but when it came down to putting their foot down, they didn't really do it. They just kind of left me hanging. So I'm not even really sure what I should do at that spot, but I'm going through the motions with another hospital that I worked at. So let me kind of tell you the story. I get this job at a hospital. It's well known. Now, I'm not here to smear the hospital's name because it's not really the hospital that is doing it to me. Kind of is, but it's not. But it started out with me getting a job at the hospital. It's union. And what happened is that in order to clock in, they have to set you up with an account. But until you get set up with an account, you're doing downtime forms. So it was something like for the first 3 weeks, I was doing a downtime form, and I was only working, I believe, it was a 2-day, 12-hour shift, 2 days a week, but I had got full-time benefits, right? And that's one of the biggest reasons why I took the job. But when I first started the job, first day off the bat, the people over there, I don't know, for some reason, they started telling me that make sure you take pictures of everything because they're notorious for not paying you. I mean, and some people were working there for years and still owe thousands of dollars. And I would ask them, like, how come you don't, go after the money? And then they're all like, we are. They just haven't done anything. So I was like, all right, cool. I felt that was a sign. So I went out there and took pictures of all my downtime forms. And, I trusted the system. I had no reason not to because I just got hired there. Anyway, so 3 weeks go by. I can't clock in because I don't have an account. So I do everything on a downtime form, which is cool. And then on the 4th week, they actually get my account going so I can actually now, use the clock in, clock out type of thing. So once that happens, and this is my second check, right? First check, flawless. So what it happened was that I had one downtime form for a week, and then I actually had my account clock in, clock out for me for a week. And they only paid me for 1 week. So I was missing 2 days. I had the downtime form filled in, everything, and they didn't pay on it. Not a big deal, but I did take a picture of it, right? So I asked the person that did payroll, hey, I didn't get paid for 1 week. And she said, well, it's too late now. Now you're going to have to wait. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know how long that wait was going to be. So the problem is like I worked like a shift from 12 midnight to 12 in the afternoon. So I worked, what do you call that? Like 7 hours into the day, to the night shift, and then 5 hours into the day shift, right? And I was too busy to go to always go to her, and then when I had time to go to the lady that did payroll, she was never there. And then when she had time, I was always busy. So it was just kind of not being able to get together. And then every time I would call, she would have left already, and I would have left a message repeatedly and nothing happened. All right, so that's just the way it went. And I try to stay on it, and as much as I could, but when you don't get reciprocation from the other side, it's hard to just keep nagging her, and I tried my best without bothering her too much. And I only worked there for 6 months. I just didn't like the work vibe. Not a big deal. So, and then this was happening during COVID. So I quit thinking, hey, when I quit, they're just gonna put the check, or the missing hours on my last check. So not a big deal, and it didn't happen. So I didn't get the check my last 2 days added onto my last check. So all of a sudden during COVID, my uncle dies, and then 6 months later I try to inquire about it again because I didn't receive anything or whatnot. Anyways, so they give me the runaround, give me some numbers to call. Nobody answers, nobody gets back to me. So I just get frustrated. So I'm all like, okay, I'm going to file a wage claim with the state, the California Labor Board. So I do. It's not a big deal. So you're talking about 6 months after I actually quit that I filed this claim. So once I get in there, I file it, and then 6 months after, I end up hearing from one of the deputies there at the labor board, and she's talking to me, and I'm explaining everything. So I have all my documents. I have pictures of my paycheck stub that I submit. I have copies of the downtime form that I took pictures of, and I submitted that, and a copy of my work schedule that they gave me to show that, I was supposed to work those days that I'm inquiring into, and how much I made and whatnot. I filled out the whole form. So once I put that in, it took me a whole year just to get a telephone conference. So I'm thinking things are going to happen at this time. And it's not that big of a deal, right? A whole year. Now, what is owed to me is some penalties, right? Fees that she figured out. And the biggest thing is, after 30 days, if they don't pay you, it was explained to me that they owe you a 1 day of pay that maxes out up to 30 days. 1 day of pay that maxes out to 30 days. So they owe you if you made $1,500 a day, they're going to owe you $1,500 times 30, and it maxes out at 30 days. So the penalties that this hospital owes me for not paying me at all was up to, I believe, just under $40,000. And that's the penalties. Now, everybody gets excited. Oh, now, you're going to get all this money. So keep in mind, she tells me this is how much they owe me when I first file my claim, and she gets back to me after, when I file, it's 6 months after I quit. Then it's 6 months, I talk to her 6 months after I make the claim. So that's 1 year after I quit. So she tells me and says, hey, you're going to get this much, supposedly. Now, so the telephone conference comes in. The hospital's people are supposed to be on that conference. So I'm sitting on the conference. They don't show up. So I'm thinking, wow, they don't show up. Maybe I get the money myself, right? I get it all. But it's not awarded to me. So now there's a hearing. Now, after a year and a half, right, of getting to that telephone conference after I quit my job, it takes another about a year and a half to get a telephone hearing. Now, so I have a hearing coming up, and I'm telling you this because regardless of how much they owe you, always fight for what they got, right? And don't let it go. And the reason being it is because you have to do your due diligence, right? Take pictures of everything and make copies of what you got. And if you still have the job, get copies of your paycheck stubs. If you know you're going to quit, get copies of your paycheck stubs before they don't give you access to your account anymore. Now, the hospital was really cool. When I quit and I had to made sure I got every copy of my paycheck stub, they were cool. I submitted a form and they gave it to me. It wasn't like they were holding, because they don't know what I'm doing. And hospital company is so big that they're not like looking at me as an individual saying, hey, you know what, this guy, he's trying to get us for the money that we owe them, owe him. So you got to realize it's been 3 years. I finally get a telephone hearing, and I'll keep you guys posted on what's going on with that. Now, my understanding is, even if I win this, right, and I have 100% chance of winning in my eyes, and the reason I say that is because I have all the proof that they didn't pay me. So just say I do win this, and they owe me just under $40,000, right? They still don't have to pay me. Well, they have to pay me. But if they don't pay me and I don't get a check, what I've done some research on was then I have to sue them. Like in civil court. And until then, they would have to pay me. I mean, and I believe that these people are going to, have me jump through every hoop just to get paid. Because you got to figure this. Now, the company is big, right? And every hospital that you work at usually is a big hospital. Even if it's a small one, still big enough. But company is big, employs thousands and thousands of people, nurses, x-ray techs, or whoever, EVS, nutrition, everybody, right? And if they short a day, or if they short a couple of hours or whatnot, that is a lot of money times the amount. So if this company pays or shorts thousands every pay period, and people just don't fight for it, that's a lot of money in their pocket. And people just don't understand that whole equation of what's going on. Now, I don't want to say like this is their practice, but every place that I've worked at, they have shorted me. Like the check, like it's a big company. Now, certain places are better than others, right? I was short at another hospital I worked at, and I'd let them know that they shorted me on the check. Boom, they cut me a check the next day. Not a big deal. I didn't even have to go through the person doing payroll. As long as my hours didn't match, my chronos or my clock in, clock out, and they know that I worked that much hours, they just cut me a check, right? So it depends on the scenario and the corporation. But that same corporation, when it came to overtime, man, they had a gatekeeper. So another hospital that I worked at, it was owed to me and, all the other nurses. There was it said in our union book, right? This is another separate occasion, different hospital, in which they didn't pay me. So I worked a lot of overtime, right? And I got paid a lot. And so when I worked overtime, I get paid even more, right? So I always look for that overtime. So But the thing is what I was looking at was consecutive weekends. Now, if I work consecutive weekends, I was supposed to get paid um, premium pay, right? And I worked a lot of consecutive weekends, and they didn't pay me. And there was, and I inquired about it. So they had two HRs. Company is so big, again, different hospital, but I would call corporate, the national corporate HR, and they said, yes, seems like you should get paid overtime, but you have to contact the regional HR. I was like, okay. So I called the regional HR and inquire about, getting paid my overtime. And this lady was like, no, you don't. And she tried to point out the part in the union book why I don't get paid. And she said it was because I was per diem. But in the book, in the union book, it said any nurse that works consecutive weekends. Now, any nurse. It didn't say what type of nurse, if you're a full-time nurse, if you're 0.1 or only, if you're 0.8. It said any nurse that works consecutive weekend is owed premium pay. And I read the book, that statement, to her. And this lady was like, I don't read it that way. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, I read it that you don't get paid premium pay because you're per diem. And I said, but it doesn't say that. It says any nurse. And she's like, well, I don't read it that way. And because she doesn't read it or interpret that sentence or that statement the way I interpret, it gives her the right not to pay me. And we went back and forth. So I get my union rep involved. She adds up how much they owe me, and it turned out to be over $15,000. And then, so I got her, and then we did the same thing, almost like what the labor board did, right? We did a telephone conference, and it didn't work. She still said the same thing. I don't interpret. Even though the union rep interpreted the same thing, how I interpreted that statement. And this lady didn't budge. She goes, it doesn't matter what anybody interprets it. It's how I interpret it. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I said, if you don't interpret a sentence that 99% of the people would interpret the same way, that doesn't make any sense. But I only use this as an example of how hard these people, and it's not the corporation, right? It's the people that they hire that do this. Now, I don't know if they hire the people, but she was so, it just seemed like she didn't want to pay us. Not based on, the statement or our union book. She said something like, we get paid enough. And then, that she's not paying me this. And I was like, but we work this and it's part of the union, right? And it was not only me. There were several other nurses that have worked, consecutive weekends that didn't get paid, right? And I was trying to fight for this, and then the union went to bat for me all up until she said no. And it was crazy because the union, the same union rep said, hey, they owe you like $15K. And then when it came down to, again, actual meeting, she said, just ask for $8,000. And I said, why would I ask for anything less? She goes, just to see if they pay you less. And this lady wasn't budging. So we cut it in half, and she still didn't pay. But I didn't understand why, if she owed me 15, if the hospital owed me 15, why wouldn't I still ask for 15? Didn't make any sense. Anyways, so I ended up quitting that job. They still didn't pay me. I'm going to have to work on trying to get paid my overtime on that. So, but my point is that everywhere you go, when you put in the overtime, theoretically, you'll get a lot of money, but they have to pay you that. So always keep in mind of the overtime that you're working. Fight for the money that you're owed, because if you don't, you're just giving it away. and they're not supposed to retaliate. I feel that a lot of people that don't fight for what they're owed are afraid of retaliation and getting fired, which is totally illegal. So the thing is what you do is you inquire about it and make sure document everything, who you spoke to, take pictures of everything, your time cards, your schedule, and also your paycheck stubs to prove that they did not pay you that money and they continue not to do it. Don't say anything. Go make a claim. If you're in your union, you're going to have to go through your union rep until you exhausted your resources there. Then make a claim with the California Wage Board. And then once that happens, then inquire about it. Now, if you end up getting fired because of you inquired about it, that's illegal. Go get an attorney, and if you're getting harassed too, go get an attorney, and your attorney will help you file a wrongful termination if you get fired, or employment harassment. I'm not sure what goes on. That didn't happen to me. I ended up quitting one job I ended up getting fired by, and that's another story. So, but the thing is if you don't stand up for what's owed to you, then just think of how many people are getting away. How many people they didn't pay and they're getting away with it, right? Thousands of people. It's not like I was the only one, because that one hospital, everybody complained on the union. And I don't know why they just didn't get any of their money. And I'm thinking retaliation. They never really said, but they were owed thousands of dollars. So, and they never, they just still work there. And they were big for, that unit was big, notoriously big for not paying the overtime. All right. So that's what I got. I know it's a long video. I try to sit you up and not speak too long, but I feel like I had to at least address the problem that I'm having so you guys don't have that problem, right? And, always clock in, clock out. I don't know, what do you guys do if you guys use the Chronos, or you telephone your hours in. So always make sure your time cards are consistent. If they owe you money, make it an email or text message. Don't talk on the phone. And the reason being is because you got to have some proof of the conversation that you had, and if they want to talk to you on the phone and give you a call, just politely say, hey, give them an email and say, hey, I'm tired, or something like that. I would like to prefer my communication via email or text message. Something that's in writing. That way you're protected, and you could have an actual stamp time of documentation of what was being said, and a timeline. All right. Well, that's my video. I'm almost through my job, still working. Haven't won the lotto yet, but until then, I'll see you guys in a bit. Peace.